Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
I forgive you. 3 words, easy to say, but are they really that easy to say? Hey, everybody, welcome to You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Justin Mirigliani. Here we are on another Monday night, the 9th of March, 2026. Unbelievable how fast time is going by, for sure. So tonight we're going to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness for others who have done things that have upset you, hurt you, but also forgiveness of yourself, which I think a lot of times is harder than forgiving other people, of course, depending on what they've done. Over the last probably year, I've worked on and continue to work on, and never will be perfect at this. Like, nobody's perfect at anything, really, but I've worked on trying to be better at forgiving other people and also forgiving myself. I did a poor job of that for a long time. And it's funny, it's different stages of life. When I was a young kid, I was pretty forgiving as a young kid, and it was not too hard. And I somehow internalized that as weakness. And I felt that, if people hurt you in some way, shape, or form, or if they don't respect you in one way, shape, or form, then the only alternative is to go back at them. And don't forgive, because if you forgive, that's going to be something where you don't have self-respect. And that led me, especially in college and afterwards, to be pretty conservative with giving out forgiveness. When people did something that upset me, I was inclined to either A, let them know loudly, or B, not say anything and just write them off as a friend. And I lost a lot of friends that way. And I think that looking back on it, I probably definitely made mistakes on not being able to put things into perspective. One of the things I always think about is killing a mosquito with a sledgehammer. Is it really necessary to do it? I mean, you kill a mosquito with a fly swatter or a book or something else, but what would you go and pick up a sledgehammer and smash a mosquito with it, knowing that you're going to obliterate the wall that the mosquito is on and destroy part of your house? That's ridiculous. But yet sometimes we do that. Sometimes we kill the mosquito with a sledgehammer, and is it worth it? And as I've gotten a little older and gone through a lot of different things between divorce and my illnesses over the years and things that have not gone right, life's too short, I guess, to hold these grudges. And forgiveness has got to come. Now, again, nobody's going to do this perfectly. There are some things that I would never be able to forgive, like being a father. If something someone were to do something terrible to my daughters, hurt them in some way that's beyond not just, breaking up with them or something like that, but physically hurt my children, I highly doubt that I would really be able to forgive that. I really don't. Maybe I would. I don't want to be in that position to find out, but to be honest with you and honest with myself, I don't know that I'd be able to do that. Some people can, and if they can, that's great. I mean, that's wonderful. That's going to give them more peace than people who can't forgive. But that's a real tough one for people to go through and to swallow. And again, I've never been in that position. I don't want to be in that position. I don't think anybody ever chooses to be in that position. But forgiveness would be really tough in that case. Um, but I have forgiven people for things that have upset me over, again, the last year or so, especially over the last few months. And I noticed that I've been terrible at forgiving myself for things. I was seeing a psychologist since 1997, so it's almost 30 years, and he's been a psychologist for probably 50 years, and he's had tons and tons of patients. And one of the things he told me, he said, everybody in the world, every discipline in the world has a best. There's a best basketball player, there's a best golfer, there's a best pianist, anything. There's a best. And he said in his career, he thinks that I am the number one guilt machine in the world. That's what he said. He said, you are the world champion of guilt. And he wasn't saying it in a good way. He didn't say it to say, hey, congratulations, you're a champion at something. No, not at all. He said it the way anybody would think it would be said, that it's not a good thing. It's terrible. And that was because I didn't afford myself forgiveness for things that I did. I just thought, he's a terrible person. And when I say he, I'm talking about me. He's not, doesn't do this right, doesn't do that right. He is not evil, but not as compassionate as he should be, not as forgiving as he should be, not as kind, not as thoughtful, all the things, not as accomplished. If I did something to hurt somebody's feelings, it would never go away. I mean, I would feel guilty about things that happened when I was 5 years old. That's not normal. That's not normal. That was my own uh, inability to let that stuff go. And I'm not saying that I've totally conquered it, because I haven't, but I'm better at it than I was before. And I think that's something we all could work on. I don't think that that's unique to me. I think people have trouble with forgiveness. And there's Rob there. Let me put up his comment. Yeah. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Rob's a great guy. He's been on my weather page for a long time, and he's become a good friend, and I really appreciate his support, and I appreciate his meteorological knowledge too. He really is very, very good. So I'm glad he's a part of it. But yeah, I just want to be the type of person who can forgive as much as possible. If you're religious, and I'm Catholic, if you're Christian, you believe that Jesus forgave. That was one of the most important things that he did, was he forgave people for indiscretions and for what people will call sin. And he asks us to forgive. I don't think any of us can forgive to the level he did, but that's the goal. I mean, that's what we should be shooting for. Now, whether we get there or not is another story, but you know, um, over the past year, I have made a lot of phone calls, and I have messaged people who did things that upset me years ago, even going back 20, 30, 40 years ago. I'm 51, so that would bring us back to my teens and my childhood. But there were some people that did something that upset me, or did something that was hurtful, and or I felt disrespected, and I just wrote them off. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna allow that. I'm not gonna allow somebody to take advantage of me and make me doubt myself. So I write them off, and I've called them, I've messaged them, emailed them. Most of the time, I've gotten the chance to talk to them, and what's pretty cool is that they say things like, "I'm really thankful that you gave me the chance to apologize for what I did," and I never thought I would get that opportunity, but thank you for doing it. And one guy told me, he said, he was thankful. He said that I get to apologize from my mouth to your ears. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was neat. He had been involved in something that was upsetting and hurtful, disrespectful, but it melted away when in that moment, and we talked. I mean, are we close friends today? No, no, we're not close friends. But the resentment and the anger and the hard feelings are not there. So it's kind of liberating for everybody, not just him, but for me as well. Not to be as angry as I was. Um, and try not to dwell on the things that are upsetting. Try not to dwell on the things that drive us crazy. Rumination. That's one of the worst things that you could do is ruminate. And that's something that last year when I was going through all kinds of terrible times, um, I learned in therapy. And when I went to the hospital, I learned in the hospital that it's a killer, rumination. And it's something I've done my whole life. I just never was able to get by that or stop it. And again, I'm not perfect at it. I still have recurring thoughts, but I'm better at it. I can reframe, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's like the saying, if you go to somebody and say, don't think about pink elephants, now they can't stop thinking about pink elephants. It's impossible because you just planted that in their brain. So when something is there that's anxiety provoking or upsetting or whatever it is, and it's evoking some sort of strong response by your body, you can't just push it away and say, well, I'm going to forget. You're not going to forget. So what you got to do is just try to do something else. You got to try to figure out a way to distract yourself, because there is no stopping it. Once you start that cycle, it just happens. Now, as far as forgiving myself, I I still struggle with this. I don't like weakness. I really don't, in myself. I don't like to be weak, because there were times in my life where I was weak, where I felt like I wasn't strong enough. And although we were supposed to do the show last week, I wasn't feeling well, so we couldn't do the show. But this week, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was a friend of mine got us into the Prudential Center in New Jersey, the New Jersey Devils hockey team, and we both are involved in NHL activities. And we both have a lot of friends in the NHL. We have a lot of business in the NHL as far as charity goes, and trying to cultivate even more business. But anyway, we got in, and we're around all these highly successful people who were players, former NHL players, people who have been in the media for a long time, people who are on TV, ESPN, and all these different stations, just millions and millions of people watching. And I can't help but think, it comes up in my head, what are you doing here? To me, I'm thinking to myself, and I put myself in the position of them, and I wonder if they think, who is this guy, and why is he here? Why is he on our turf? Why is he in this fraternity when he never played in the NHL? He is not a employee of the league. He's not writing for a major magazine or a major website. So why is he here? And I got to keep telling myself that's my own insecurities. That it may not be those people thinking that. It may just be me projecting that on those people. And I did it to myself yesterday. When I was in there, I was talking to some NHL players, and some of them I watched when I was growing up, and some of them are my age, some of them are a little younger. So the people in the media, some of them have been there for 50 years, some of them have been there, 2 years, and like, I'm looking down at my credential and saying, do you really belong here? I mean, yeah, you got the credential to get in, you're here, but do you belong here? And it was amazing. I talked to former goalie. He's a pretty popular player. If you're not a hockey fan, then you're not going to know this name, but his name is Glenn Chico Resch. And Chico Resch played for the New York Islanders, and then he became a New Jersey Devil, and then he became a Flyer, and then he went back to New Jersey to be a broadcaster. And I never met him before yesterday, so we walked up to the radio room, and we saw Chico, and Chico's a friend of the guy who I went with, the guy who's been on the show, Charlie Min. He did the Pele Lindbergh documentary, and we did a show on that. And Charlie's been kind enough to include me in a lot of different projects with this, things that I never thought I'd be able to do, like be a MC for the question and answer portion of his movie. It was really, really cool. So Charlie introduced me to Chico, and you're always apprehensive when you go up to somebody that you don't know and somebody who is well accomplished. But Chico talked to me like we knew each other for decades. He looked at me, made eye contact, asked me questions about myself, asked questions about what I would ask him questions about hockey, and he would ask me my opinion. And we talked about some old times, and it wasn't a long conversation. It was probably 15 minutes, but the thought of I don't belong here kind of was in my own head. It was my own not being able to, and in a way, it's forgiveness, not being able to forgive myself for not being able to be what they were. I wanted to be an NHL hockey player. I wasn't good enough. That's just the way it is. And most people are not good enough. I didn't happen to be in the top 0.001%, and that's most people. So, but to me, it was failure. To me, it's these people got to do it, and I'll never get a chance to do it. Never did, and never will. But I have to forgive myself for feeling that way. I have to find a way to just let that go. And people like Chico help with that because they don't treat you like you don't belong. They treat you like you're a part of it. And then we met another guy, another goalie from the NHL. He's on ESPN now, and he's a big time analyst. And again, same deal. We talked. His name is Kevin Weeks. We talked like we knew each other for a long time. Just really nice, back and forth, eye contact, the whole 9 yards. And even still, I had thoughts of, do I belong here? I'm looking out on the ice from the tunnel, and I'm thinking, man, this is something where only the people who are involved in a league go. And I got to keep telling myself, in some ways, I'm involved in a league too because I've done the work. I've done the things I need to do to kind of fit into that area. Now, am I a big part of hockey? No, not at all. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to mistake me for Wayne Gretzky or anybody who's prominent in the National Hockey League, but to be accepted is nice. And one thing I noticed when I was driving home was that I was able to, let me backtrack. Probably it's that definitely, I always say probably, but I should stop doing that. Definitely in years past, last year, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is, I would then punish myself for having those feelings. So I would feel inferior, and then I would beat myself up in the car for feeling inferior. I even did this with my own charity because my charity, part of the reason why I have some connections in the NHL is through the charity. We play celebrity NHL hockey games. We try to do it yearly. And I remember after the games, there was a feeling of, letdown that I didn't belong. These guys are professional athletes. They're superior to me in almost every way. And then I would feel bad about myself for thinking that. So actually it was a double whammy, right? So I didn't feel comfortable while I was playing and in their company. And then I was angry at myself for not being able to kick that feeling, which kind of made it worse. And then yesterday when I thought about it in the car, I said, just let it go. There's no reason. You did the best you could with what you had. You went in. They didn't know that I felt inferior. I didn't project that at all. I talked to them just like I'm talking to you right now. So that was all internal. And then I started to wonder, is it just me? And I don't think it is. I think it's everybody. I think they are in positions sometimes where they don't feel like they're they belong. They might be in a position where they're with CEOs of major companies, let's say, people who are billionaires, and maybe they feel self-conscious, even though they're former professional athletes or current professional athletes or TV people, whatever it may be. So I was able to forgive myself on the way home, and not ruminate about having the feelings. I don't think we could change what we feel in any one given moment, but we could change how we react. And that's what I'm trying to concentrate on. Was there anxiety yesterday? Yeah. Yeah, I could feel it internally. And when I feel anxiety, I think most people get this. You get a burning feeling in your body. It almost feels like you're going to break out in a sweat, and it's uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel good, and then you don't know at the moment how to get out of it. And the only way really is just to push right through it and just try to pretend it's not happening. Some people might look at this, what I'm doing right now, public speaking and being on a television show, or if I go up in front of an audience of, I've done audiences probably of a few hundred people at a time. I'm not thousands, but certainly 200, 300, 400. And some people think I can never do that because how do I command the room? How do I not feel self-conscious? And I did for a long time. I'm not saying that I never felt that. I did. It was knees knocking and all those things. Or when I started on radio back in college, I still have tapes of my first couple of broadcasts, and they're terrible. I mean, they're just awful. I'm very nervous. You could hear it in my voice. You could hear that I'm struggling to breathe. All the things that come with anxiety. And I when I listened to them over the years, I would beat myself up. I would say, how could you be so weak? How could you be so intimidated? How could you not have the strength to be able to do this? And then I would beat myself up over it. I would say, yeah, what a loser. How could you uh, just be so bad? So I felt bad during the time that I did it. And then I felt worse afterwards because I was listening to it. Even up to a few years ago, I couldn't even listen to it. It would just drive me crazy. But now I'm thinking to myself, is it really that big of a deal? Yeah, I wasn't good at it. Maybe it shows growth because I wasn't good at it then. And now I can do it with no problem. I'm not nervous right now. I don't feel out of my element. I don't feel like I'm struggling. I ad-lib everything on this show. I don't write up anything. I don't have any notes. There's nothing there. It's just whatever comes to my head at the time because that's a skill that I've developed over a period of time. Now I've been in corporate training for 28 years. That's half my life, really, almost half my life. So it's now easy, but going back 30 some years ago, 35 years ago, no, it wasn't that easy. I had to struggle through um, difficulties, fear, anxiety, all the things that come with public speaking or being on the radio, being on TV. When I did QVC in 2004, yeah, it was 2004 for the first time. It's a nervous wreck. I was a nervous wreck. You're talking about, I had never done TV before. And now all of a sudden, not only am I doing TV, I'm doing TV in front of, I think it was 70 million people potentially watching at any one given time. It's well into the millions. And you just wonder what's going to go on. I mean, live TV, anything can happen. Right now, we're on live TV. Anything can happen. The roof could cave in. I could pass out. Anything could happen, right? That we could lose signal. All these different things that could go wrong. And that was good training for this because that got me to think, okay, well, whatever happens, it's not going to be a disaster. It's just going to be something that we could fix later on. There's nothing that's going to happen that we can't fix, short of saying something ridiculously stupid, which people do sometimes do on the air, especially when they forget that every mic is a hot mic. You never look at a microphone and say, I don't think it's on. It's on. Just pretend it's on. But, the first couple of shows was really difficult. And then I remember doing a show and I was selling computers. That was my job. I was a computer expert. And I had an earpiece in, and they would say things like, "Oh, show that again. We got a spike in sales. Show that again." So I would show whatever I did before. I put up a picture, or I put up a video, whatever it was, and that would spike sales, because when they would see a spike, they would say, "Do it again. We want another spike." And I remember one show, it was probably like the fifth or sixth one that I've done, so I had some behind me. And I went to show something on the computer, and it froze. The computer completely froze. And I could feel the burning. I had hair at the time, but under my hair, I could feel the sweat beating up on my head. And I could feel my armpits sweating. I could feel, almost like my legs were going to go out from under me. And I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? How in the world do I tell people, oh, buy this computer, but it's frozen on national TV in front of millions of people? How in the world do you do that? You can't. So I accidentally kicked the plug out and unplugged the computer. Had it been my first show, would I have thought of that? Probably not. I probably would have said, well, folks, this computer froze, and it happens sometimes. Any computer will freeze, something to that effect. But no, I didn't want to have to say that, especially when you're trying to sell a computer. So I kicked the plug out and I unplugged it, and it dropped off. Now, they were very angry at me for that. They said, how could you be so clumsy? How could you do that? That's so unprofessional. You tripped over a cord. How could you not know the cord was there? All the things you would think they would say. And when I told them what happened, their tune changed dramatically. Said, well, hey, that's a smart thinking. Good job, because that could have been really embarrassing. My point is, that would not have happened in the first couple shows, but by show 6, 7, whatever it was, 5, 6, 7, uh, you start to get comfortable with it, and you start to think better. And then doing this show every week, same thing. I don't panic when I hit the go live button. When the red light comes on, it's not something that's anxiety provoking. Not at all. It's fun. It's something that I enjoy doing, and it's something that in this great network, being a part of it is wonderful. Doing the Q&A for the Pelly Lindbergh film. If you told me that when I was a kid, when 10 years old in 1985, 4 years ago, that I would be involved in something like that, there's no way I could have dreamed that would happen. Impossible. Impossible. I've been trying to do something, and Pelly Lindbergh was a Philadelphia Flyer. And again, hockey's big in the Philadelphia area, especially when I was growing up. And he was a great player, one of the best in the National Hockey League, was actually the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And he was killed in a drunk driving accident. And for years, it's something that shaped my childhood in some ways, because I was 10. But for years, I've wanted to do something to honor not only him, Pelly, but also that time, because that was a really great time for us. Not his death, but certainly his career. And I tried so many different things. I tried to write a book, and it failed because somebody else had already started a book, and they were with his family. So there was no way that I was going to be able to do that. And then I wrote a screenplay about Pelly Lindbergh, and that was tough to do. And then I started a documentary about the Flyers from 1984 to 1988. And we're still working on that, but it's slow going and may never happen. But Charlie, who did the film The Swede of Philadelphia, which is on Amazon, by the way, if you wanted to stream it, The Swede of Philadelphia. And Charlie allowed me to be a part of it, and allowed me to be in the Q&A and MC it, and meet a lot of cool people and forge friendships with people that I never thought I'd meet. So I got to honor Pelly in some way, shape, or form. May not be exactly what I wanted, but I beat myself up over all the failures. I beat myself up over, you didn't do the book fast enough. Why didn't you start 2 years before? If you had started 2 years before, you would have written the book, and you would be the one who wrote the book. And I beat myself up over that. Or why doesn't the screenplay work? Well, because screenplays are really hard to get done. It's not like you write a screenplay and all of a sudden it's in Steven Spielberg's office. It doesn't work that way. For every script that works, you probably have tens of thousands that are thrown in the trash. Just the way it is. There's a lot of money involved in that. Documentary, same thing. I mean, to do this Keenan's Kids documentary, it's going to cost probably $100,000 to get it done. Investors don't invest unless they think they're going to make their money back. They don't know if they will. They're not going to invest, even if they love it, even if they think this is wonderful. And I've had some million to billionaires say, "Oh, this is a really, really cool trailer. This is really cool. I like it. I think it's great." But I don't invest in films. I don't invest in documentaries. I don't invest in any movies. That's because it's a hit or miss business. Even low budget films, you think, well, it's only 100,000. That's a low budget film. Yeah, well, it's a really niche type of audience too. Are you going to sell enough to make back the 100,000? And investors don't look at deals to break even. They don't want to say, well, I put up 100,000. I got my money back. They want to make money. And the only way to do that is if you believe that it's going to sell. And it's not easy to do. It's very tough. So I have to take all those things into consideration and not look at it as failure, because it's not. It's more that's the way it goes type of thing. It's just the nature of what I'm trying to do. And it makes you, if you look at the failures, it's going to make you quit, because you're going to beat yourself up, and it's painful to know that you failed. It's not a fun feeling. It's a feeling of, why couldn't I do this? Other people do it. Why not me? Why am I the one struggling? Why do other people get it done and I can't? Maybe it'll never happen. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen down the road, but you give it a shot. And I can't anymore beat myself up over failure. If it never gets done, I'm laying on my deathbed and thinking, gee, I wish I would have done that. So what? At least I can say I gave it a shot. And I think, if I remember right, it was Sylvester Stallone who was talking about, he wrote Rocky, and he said, I have to do this and I have to be the actor. And they didn't want him in the film. They told him, we'll buy the script from you for, and back then, 300,000 or 500,000 for the script. They were going to buy it from him. But the stipulation was that he couldn't play the character Rocky. And here's a guy who had to sell his dog because he had no money and couldn't even feed the dog. So he sold the dog, had some money, and could barely feed himself. And he turns down hundreds of thousands of dollars because he wanted to be Rocky. He wrote the film with him in mind as the lead. And why didn't he sell it? Because he said, I couldn't live with the fact that I would have given up on my dream for the money. One of the things he talked about was he would beat himself up and not be able to forgive himself if the film, he let's say he got 500,000 and the film made 50 million. He said, I wouldn't be able to stand it. I wouldn't be able to take it. I get it. He said, I had to take my shot. He said, 500,000 wasn't going to be enough to stop him from taking a shot. Yeah, I can see that. He'll never wonder, win or lose, you never wonder once you gave it a shot. You say, well, I gave it a shot and it either worked or it didn't. Now, in his case, it worked. Does that mean it's going to work for most people? No, it's not. So you have a choice. Either don't try and don't feel the sting of failure or what is perceived failure and beat yourself up over it, or try and don't beat yourself up and just say, look, most people are going to fail at this stuff and very few make it. So you give it a shot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. Self-forgiveness, again, is probably the hardest thing for most people, to look at themselves and say, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And then accept it and say, that's just the way it is. I'm good at some things. I stink at other things. And so does everybody else on the planet. Those professional hockey players are supremely talented to the point where virtually no one is better than them on the planet, just their colleagues. Anybody who's not in the NHL, or if you're a baseball fan, anybody who's not in the major leagues is nowhere close to the people in the major leagues. Or in basketball, if you're a player in another league, another professional league. That's great, but it's not the NBA. So out of the millions and millions and millions and millions of people who want to have these positions, how many people wanted to be the center fielder for their hometown team? Right. For me, the Phillies in Philadelphia. How many people wanted to be the starting center for their hometown hockey team, or the starting winger on the hometown hockey team, scoring a goal in the stadium, having the stadium go crazy because you scored a goal? Millions of us dreamt that. Millions of us skated around in uh, schoolyards and on hockey rinks and shot pucks and just imagine what it would be like to be doing that as a career. And 99.999% of us never will make it. So is it failure, or is it just the numbers and the luck, the right training at the right time with the right talent, with the right people seeing you? And at 51 years old, I still have the thoughts of, do I belong? And I wish I didn't have them. I wish that didn't happen. But what I'm happy about was that ride home wasn't a hour and 45-minute beating, where in my head I would drive home the point that now not only did you feel that way, but now I'm disappointed in you for feeling that way. So that's what I would do for a long time. I just chalked it up. That's just the way I felt at the time. And it wasn't the whole time. I don't want to say that, I had a good time. I enjoyed it. It wasn't every minute of that, but there were moments where that crept into my head. I think the difference between me and other people sometimes, and not everyone, but I think I'm in the minority. I'm willing to say the things that other people might feel that they're afraid to say. And in some ways it's good because it gives people the opportunity to see that they're not the only one. And in some ways it's bad because you'll be judged for the things that you say, the things that you share, that you feel. Uh, I shared something about vulnerability on Facebook, and I do that a lot. And some people reacted very positively, and other people reacted negatively, saying things like, what kind of a wimp are you? Why would you? And they use some colorful language I won't use here, but why would you share something like that? It shows weakness and all that stuff. And I don't see it that way. You have to decide what you're going to do, and it can't be other people's decision. Um, how you're going to act and what you're going to post and what you're going to say and what you're going to do. You just got to go with what you think is right, whether people agree with it or not. And I spent too much of my life waiting for permission from whoever it was, whether it was my parents or whether it was my wife or whether it was friends or whatever, whoever, in whatever situation it was, teachers, professors, coaches. And it took a long time, but at 51 years old, I now am starting to say, if people don't agree, they don't agree. And that doesn't mean that I have to do things just to upset people, but I got to do what I think is best for me, for my future, for my kids, and teach them not to fall in the same pitfalls that I did, where I struggled to make decisions because I didn't want to upset anybody, or I thought it's going to make me feel uncomfortable because somebody thinks that I'm making the wrong decision. And it can't be. So tying this back to forgiveness, it's not an easy thing to do. When you're upset, you're angry, somebody does something that has just destroyed you in some ways, or yourself, where you've done things that you look at and with disgust and think, oh my goodness, how could I be this, or how could I think that way, or give yourself a little grace. And I see that as a trainer all the time. People, how can I be so dumb? I don't understand computers. I don't understand how to work with computer software, give yourself some grace. Not everyone's going to be great at that, but you can turn weaknesses into strengths if you do it enough. All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Another Monday is come and gone. We will be back next week on You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. Make sure that you tune into USA Global TV and Radio as much as you can. We got some great programming on here with some really, really wonderful hosts. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.